Hello, my friends on YouTube. Well, today I will not speak about the things that are happening in the Middle East because realistically there is no new things. Only the old things in Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Turkey are going on the same injustice and the same problems. So we're not going to talk about this now. However, today I chose a subject about Muhammad and one of his wives. This woman's name is Zainab bint Jahsh. Why specifically this woman? Because on this woman originally is not his wife. And on YouTube there are many Muslim teachers who are trying to justify the behavior of Muhammad towards this woman. So we're going to see who is this woman, Zainab bint Jahsh. As we all know, Muhammad didn't have son. He actually had one son, but there is doubt even about his if he was really his. Some people say that the woman who got pregnant, Muhammad was not the father. And anyway, that boy died as a child. So Muhammad adopted a son, a person, a boy who lost his parents. And that boy, his name was Zayd, Zayd ibn al-Haritha. And that's fine. The Arabs, before the coming of Muhammad, they had the tradition of adopting children. If I do not have children, I can go and adopt a child. If this child's parents have passed away in an accident or got sick, whatever, then I will adopt that child, and that child will carry my name, and he will inherit my wealth, whatever I leave behind. That was the tradition even until Muhammad, way well into his message, and Muhammad, had that son Zayd. Then Zayd got married. Yeah, he got married to this woman. He got married to Zainab bint Jahsh. So this woman, Zainab bint Jahsh, became Muhammad's daughter-in-law, like his daughter. And that is the trouble. Because even if you are sexually out of control, you should not touch your daughter. Your daughter-in-law is your daughter. If I have a son, and even if I am out of control sexually, I should not look at my daughter. I should not look at my daughter-in-law because she is also my daughter. So, Muhammad officiated the marriage of these two people, his adopted son and his wife Zainab bint Jahsh. They got married. However, because this young man, Zayd, was a poor person because his parents passed away and he didn't have any wealth, and he was an adopted child to Muhammad, so he didn't have the prestige, whereas his wife, she was, I really don't know her history, but she was from Mecca, and They say, I don't know, I'm sure they make stories too, but they say that she was of the wealthy, of the upper class. It doesn't matter. Anyway, they got married. But as you read through the stories, it seems to be the woman Zainab, even though she is married to Muhammad's son, her eyes is actually on Muhammad. If you read between the lines, her eyes are on Muhammad. And one day, Muhammad went to visit his son, his adopted son, and his wife. And it seems to me, there is nothing to back this up, but it seems to me he knew the time his son is not at home. So he went and he saw his daughter-in-law with very little clothing on her. She's sitting home. When he saw that, the story says that she was very beautiful. So he saw her almost naked, and the lust of the Prophet of Allah came on him. He couldn't control himself. So one way or another, he made it clear to his son-in-law that he wants to marry this woman. Needless to say, the boy, the son, knew what to do. You better divorce her, or I will divorce you from your life. I will kill you, practically. There is nothing that it says that this, but you could convey, Muhammad at this time, he had army, and he was a man of wealth and power. And those who opposed him, he made them disappear. We can speak about these people whom he disappeared them one by one. So I think the son got the message. So he divorced his wife, Zainab, so that Muhammad may marry her. And he did. What's upsetting and why I'm choosing the subject is there are so many Muslim scholars, and don't tell me that none of them cannot see beyond the words. I'm not a person, I'm not actually, I study on my own, I read on my own, and I can see through the words how the scenario of the situation is going. There are things that you can actually feel from the words. And on a length of time, 1,400 years, there is no one single Muslim scholar could see what's hidden between the line. Is hard to believe. They do see it. But there's one problem here. These religious people, if they touch one single problem in Islam, the whole structure will collapse because it will entail others. Today actually we read, it's very similar to, that's just something popped to my head. The Catholic Church and the Pope Francis, and what's happening today, the sexual abuse of children in the Catholic Church. And until now, the Pope does not want to say anything, and there is mystery and cover up is taking place in the Catholic Church now. And it seems to be like if somebody pokes a little hole in the situation of that sexual abuse in the Catholic Church, the whole organization, I'm not talking about the faith of the Catholic people. No, that has nothing to do with the organization of the structure of the Catholic Church. The structure. Okay? So if you poke a hole in that structure, it will come down collapsing. Because it's not just sexual abuse. The Vatican is actually is involved in money laundering, drug dealing on the highest level. Yes, drug dealing. The cocaine and heroin is the largest supplier is the CIA. There are many secrets now are started to open up. The CIA in America is the largest supplier of drugs, of heroin and cocaine. And the money is going through the Vatican banks. So it's not just the sexual abuse of children and homosexual activity happening in the clergy, not just homosexual activity, but also abuse and the rape of children and the forcing of these honest students who go to study in the seminary to become religious, honest religious people. They are actually raped by their elder or forced into sexual relationship. Okay? So if you poke a hole in that organization, it will entail so many things, destructive things. And it's the same thing in Islam, but Islam is not just the structure. Islam is the structure as well as the teaching. The Quran and the Hadith and the autobiography of Muhammad, the whole thing, it's hardly standing now. It is hardly standing. And therefore, any little push, these Muslim teachers, they will lose their job. They will lose their vocation. And it is a very lucrative one. They make millions. So why should they inform the people about what is going on? I don't work for any Islamic organization. And that's why I can push. And I hope many other people can push. Let it come down and let the organization of the Catholic Church also collapse. If it is corrupt, it should collapse. Who cares? Okay? I'm not talking about the average Catholic person who has belief in God and belief in Jesus, belief in the tradition, the whatever good tradition they've been raised on. I have no problem with that person. I'm talking about the Catholic organization that it abused its power, abused its wealth, abused everything in the book, all the way up to the Pope. And that is not only now. So if this is the case, I don't care. Let it collapse. And the same thing for the Muslim tradition and the Muslim teaching. Muhammad abused his authority, abused his power, and he married his daughter-in-law. And at this time, the Arabs were really so ashamed of what he had done, because you don't marry your daughter-in-law. That's wrong. So the revelation came from heaven directly to the Prophet. Don't worry about what the people say. You are doing fine. God allowed you to do this. Why? The, the excuse that all these ministers, the Muslim imam or whatever you call them, these teachers, they say because God wanted to stop adoption. Okay, let's say, per se, for the sake of the argument, adoption is not good. And the reason he was saying because uh, you wouldn't know the lineage of the child. The lineage would be mixed up. Like my son, if I have a son of my own and I adopt another son, of course the DNA of my own son and the adopted son, the DNA is not the same. That's true. Okay, if this is your concern, that the lineage and the DNA will be mixed up, okay, you could, if this is your main concern, yes, okay, I understand. That's your concern, and probably it's a legitimate one. If you want to consider it legitimate, okay, I'll agree with you. But why did you have to have the wife of your son? Stop the adoption, and nobody will tell you anything. But why did you have to force your son, your adopted son, to divorce his wife after you saw her almost naked and take her to yourself? If the numbers don't add up, there's something wrong in the equation. So the Muslim leaders are pushing time and again that this was the will of God, because God wanted to stop the adoption. Okay, explain to us then. I'm not against, okay, let's say your God wants to stop the adoption. Fine. Or Muhammad wanted to stop the adoption. Let's say any person wants to stop the adoption in his hometown. He can speak about it. He can petition people and they can sign, okay, we don't want the adoption. Adoption is wrong. And then it becomes a law. What does that have to do with marrying my daughter-in-law of my adopted son? Do you see that here? So the problem here, Muhammad was really, I'm not sorry to say that, but it is clear he was sexually out of control. That's why he took so many wives. And what do you call, he owned women. And when you own a woman, like a slave woman, um, you can have sexual relationship with her even without marriage, even without her consent. She is your slave and you can do whatever you want with her. Okay? And there was a woman uh, given to Muhammad as a present. A present. Her name was Coptic Maria. She was a Coptic woman. Her name was Maria. And this woman got pregnant and she had a son. However, there was a dispute about this son of Muhammad, that he didn't look like him, and many people believe that she conceived from another guy. Anyway, later on this son died, so Muhammad had no sons. So he adopted this guy. His name, when he adopted him, he called him, the boy, his name was Zayd. So when Muhammad adopted him, was called Zayd, son of Muhammad. Zayd, son of Muhammad. When Muhammad stopped the adoption, the boy or the son took back his real name, the name of his father. He became Zayd bin al-Haritha. That's his father's name, his original father's name. Now, I'm saying that because I get many comments on YouTube, two types of comments. Actually, more than that, but the two comments I'm going to speak of are, some people think that I am possessed by evil spirit or something, and they are saying, may God direct you back to the goodness of Islam. Okay, if this is your heart, thank you very much. I appreciate your good intention. Okay, I'm not going to defend myself or say I'm possessed or not possessed. Forget it. But the other type, the ones who are cursing and using vulgar language, I don't care about you. What you is not that. I'm sorry. I don't care about what you say. I'm not going to stop. And if you think by cursing, I'm not responding because I don't want to use this language, and I don't want to have to engage myself with people of that kind of mentality. However, for those who are really concerned about me, I said I appreciate the thought, but I also encourage you, please take a step back and read these things objectively. Read about Muhammad objectively. Study objectively. If they say Muhammad did this or did that, and they try to beautify it, make it so beautiful, just look at it carefully. Such as the story of his adopted son, and see if the number add up. If they don't, please leave this nonsense. Okay, thank you very much, and we'll see you again in another video.